Hey friends! I wanted to discuss escalation clauses with you. And if you've been in the real estate market in the past few years, you probably have heard the term. But it's a lot of information. So I want to divide it up into part one, which is today, um, from the perspective of the buyer, and part two, which I'll release next from the perspective of seller. So escalation clauses are a part of an offer that the buyer can include when they're writing their offer and their contract on a property that they like to kind of appeal to the seller, to strengthen their offer, to give them the best chance at getting the house in a competitive situation. So, competitive offers are pretty much common now. It's very common to have multiple offers on properties that are in good shape, in nice neighborhoods, that don't need much work. And to be honest, really, even in houses that do need a little bit of work, it can still be very competitive. So, how does an offer stand out? When there are 10, 20, 30 offers on a house, what makes one better than the other? So this is where a seasoned agent can go through the contract with you, line by line, term by term, condition by condition, and make sure that every single thing is the most appealing to the seller as it can be. Keeping in mind some parameters that work for the buyer. So one of those ways is through an escalation clause. So if I were writing an offer for a buyer, and I wanted to make sure that we had the best chance of getting that house in a competitive situation, I recommend having an escalation clause that states buyer will offer a certain dollar amount, let's say $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 over the next highest offer up to a maximum purchase price to the seller of X. So that means as buyers, we have to talk about, okay, for example, this house is on the market for $300,000, but we would pay $375. Let's say that's the highest I want to go on this house, but I really don't want to overpay either if I don't have to. So I don't want to just offer this $375 if I could have gotten it for a little bit less than that. So how I would state that is buyer will pay, say, $5,000 over the next highest offer up to a maximum purchase price to the seller of $375,000. Now, if there are lots of other offers and someone offers over $375,000, we're out, we lose. But as long as it's within that price range, that $75,000 span, and the rest of our offer is strong, then we have a really good chance of getting that house. And I want to really stress that the rest of the offer has to be strong. It can't be all about the purchase price and then all of the other terms and conditions of our offer are super weak. That's not going to work out either. Everything has to be very strong. So in this type of a situation, when I write that type of escalation clause in, if the seller gets several offers and one of them is 310, one's 325, one's 330, one's 350, and say the 350 is the highest offer that they have, but ours says that we are going to pay $5,000 over that up to 375, as long as the other terms and conditions are good, we should get our offer accepted at 355. Okay? So the most common thing that I want to address with buyers is the concern that, well, how do we know that there was the other offer for 350, right? Can't they just make that up? And I guess they could make that up. However, I make sure to write in some language into my offers that say that the competitive offer, the offer that we're beating, will be presented to us and to the buyer's attorney immediately upon acceptance, so that we have proof that another offer exists. It's another bona fide offer with a proof of funds letter or a pre-approval letter from that buyer attached, so that we know that it's not just somebody that made up an offer. We know that person is a true buyer. They have truly gotten pre-approved or they're showing proof of funds. And I'm also passing that on to our attorney. because the attorney is really looking out for the buyer from a legal standpoint, and I want to make sure that we're all on the same page, that we feel comfortable that our offer was accepted in the right way. So if you have any other questions on escalation clauses, please reach out to me. There are many ways that people write them. This is kind of the most common way that people write them. And it's a way for you to still have like your horse in the race. If you're not quite sure how high these offers are going to go on a particular property, you set a maximum. This is the maximum that you want to pay. You start off, you know, on the lower end, maybe not all the way as low as the purchase price, but on the lower end. And then you state what increment you will beat the other offer by. So $5,000, $2,000, whatever it happens to be. Okay, any other questions? Please reach out.